Welcome, guys, to ILWPOD. I'm your host, Justin Wright. Today, we are with another member of the A4, Mr. Don Cameron. How you doing today, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Don of the A4 himself. I'm doing just fine.
Hey, I noticed you got some merch on there.
Oh yeah,
Where?
it's a little bit of something with me and my son. Little Don. Anytime you see Don Cameron, you most likely gonna see little Don too. So yeah, you can't get this shirt yet. It's not on sale yet, but pretty soon. Pretty soon.
Do you have any other merch or stuff you sell?
Yes, I have t-shirts on ProWrestlingTees.com. Actually, I have to update the page because I have some new designs coming. But yeah, I got a couple of t-shirts up on there. If anybody wants to get a t-shirt from there to support the Don, I'm always looking forward to making the sale. They're gonna let me know that you bought it. I ain't gonna have nothing else to do with it though.
Are there any other socials or like events coming up that you want to go ahead and plug so we can get that stuff out the way?
Absolutely. You can follow me on anything at Don Cameron WWA4. I'm on Instagram, I'm on X/Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. Well, actually on Facebook, you can find me at Don Cameron WWA4, and you can find my page, Don Cameron, which is under Big Don WWA4. Yeah, it's two different pages. One is my page where I post my match announcements and highlights. The other is pretty much sharing whatever I post on Instagram.
Okay.
And as far as any events having, I have RIPW coming up. I'm not officially booked for the show yet, but we have that show coming up next Sunday on the 27th. And we have an upcoming DWA show, Dynamic Wrestling Association, in November. I believe it's towards the end of November. So yeah, those are two of the most recent bookings that I know for a fact you'll be able to see Don Cameron at.
Okay. Got you. Um, just to start the interview off, I always start with the generic first question. We all love wrestling, but we all have a moment when we fell in love with it. Do you have a moment where, you know, you just was like, this is something that captivates me?
Yes. All right. So it was back in my high school. Actually, it was middle school because high school I kind of fell out for a while and got back into it. So it was my middle school years, my eighth grade year. It was the rivalry between Randy Orton and Triple H. And I believe it was WrestleMania 25, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it was just the storyline at the time. I hated Randy Orton. As I got older and understood what the business was about, I came to appreciate him much more. But at the time, I could not stand him. But I also didn't really like Triple H. But I could see how the storyline had basically turned him into the guy that you want. You wanted to see him beat Randy simply because of the fact that Randy had done some really disrespectful things to him on the build up to that match, and just the ebbs and flows of that entire storyline, how we went from just basically hating this one guy a couple of years ago to now we like, yeah, I want him to win because of the fact that this guy is now looking like more of a threat than this guy was when he was a threat. And it's just the way anything can change in wrestling, and the way any moment can go from something that you didn't think would be as big to something that leads to the biggest change in history, or one of the biggest changes in history. That's what made me fall in love with pro wrestling.
Nice. I remember that storyline. I remember I was watching. Uh, it was I think the moment I liked that storyline the most. I believe it was on Raw and Triple H broke into Orton's house,
Yes, that was my
and I
favorite
was
part
like,
too.
that was the best. I was like, could you imagine? I remember mimicking that moment with my little brother so much, barging through the front door.
Yeah, we got into a lot of trouble about mimicking stuff on TV as well.
Is there,
Uh,
speaking of that, just out of fun, is there any moment as a kid where you did something, to a sibling or a friend, your parents were like, what are you doing? You're like, wrestling.
Oh yes, all the time. So I have seven siblings, but I originally started out with two. So it was just the big three. That's what we called each other. and we were huge wrestling fans as kids. And basically, anything we saw on TV, we would try. And my brothers were smaller than me, so they were the high flyers, and I was, of course, the powerhouse. And we would always put on triple threat matches, and we have suffered many of broken beds and broken windows and broken TVs, and there were several holes in the wall, several holes in the wall. Some of that stuff I still do to this day. You can ask some people at the A4 about that. But yeah, we always that message of don't try this at home. We never saw that. We did, but we didn't.
No, nobody cared.
No, we didn't, not at all.
No, I remember one time as a kid, I hit the West Coast Pop off the stairs on my dad, and he fell on the bed, and the whole bed broke,
Oh yeah,
exploded. My
yeah.
grandmother was pissed.
Yeah, we've done that a few times. We tried to cover up a hole in the wall one time with a wrestling poster. Actually, the irony of it, we put a hole in the wall from wrestling and tried to cover it with a wrestling poster. And mom walked right in and saw it. It was too big to hide behind the poster. Yeah, yeah. We grew up doing a lot of that.
um, Growing up, were you ever involved in any other sports and stuff like that in school?
Yes. So I was the typical football player. I played basketball, I played baseball, but my main focus throughout my school years was always football. That was the very first thing that I wanted to do. I actually wrestled in high school to try and further my career in football, but essentially that was the main thing that I wanted to do. I always was football first.
So, like, was there ever plans for you to try to go on and do something further in football?
Oh yes, I wanted to go to the NFL like every other boy that dreams of playing football. But my college days, I went to a school that didn't have a very successful team. I didn't play for that team because they weren't that successful, and I kind of just let the football dream just fall by the wayside.
Okay. So, like, with that happening, what led you to finding a school and getting started in training to be a wrestler?
Well, it was always something that I always wanted to do, but never fully thought that I could do. And obviously, I didn't get smartened up to the actual workings of how you can become a pro wrestler until a few years ago. But it was just basically a word search. I mean, not a word search. It was a Google search one day. I was just fumbling around, figuring out like I got to do something. I can't just keep sitting around. But I also know that I wanted to keep doing something physical and something that would keep me active. And I just decided to shoot in the dark, throw something at the wall. Hey, we see about how to be a pro wrestler, and I looked up how to be a pro wrestler. There was actually a Wikipedia, a WikiHow page on how to be a pro wrestler. It gives you detailed steps, and the first step on there was you have to find a wrestling school. So naturally, being in Atlanta, I typed in wrestling schools in Atlanta, and the very first one that popped up was the WWA4. And I could have gone to some other schools, but as soon as I clicked on their website and I saw one, the representation, and two, I saw who the trainer was in AR Fox. And I went to go and look at a couple of his highlights and I could see some of the things he was doing. It kind of inspired me right away.
Um, you mentioned AR Fox. What was it like the first time getting to meet him and get to know him a little bit?
The first time meeting Fox was very cool. Like he's a very cool and laid back person. Like you wouldn't believe. Like if I told you like this guy's been wrestling for this many years, he's seen this person, he's trained that person, he's been around these people, you would never think that from the way he carries himself and the way he literally treats everybody the same. Like he doesn't come off as standoffish, he doesn't come off as selfish or arrogant. He's very humble, he's very down to earth, and he's very welcoming. Like my first day meeting him, I walked in with my girlfriend and my son, and he welcomed all us in just like he does to everyone else. He offered for me to come and do a tour and to watch how they train, and if I had any questions, I could ask. The following day, I was in there training, and we've been locked in ever since.
How long have you been training for him?
At this point, I've been training for 2 years and 6 months.
Nice. What's that journey been like so far, that 2 years?
The first year it was very, very hectic, but it was really because I had to learn the ins and outs. You have to, learn to take a bump and your ups and your drop downs and your leapfrogs. Going through all of that and putting your body through that state of, all right, I know I got to go in here and this thing's gonna hurt, but I got to put myself through it. Once you kind of get your mind to realizing, okay, this is what I'm doing and it's okay with it, then everything else kind of falls easy. Like this last year of training hasn't been nowhere near as hard as the first year, but yeah, the first year was definitely a hectic year. And then it was a lot of guys that came in with me also. So we had a lot of busy classes. Like there was never a day where I came in and we maybe have 5 or 6 people that we're trying to figure out what's going on. No, when I'm coming to training, it's at least 20 to 30 people every day. So every day there's something new to learn.
Okay. So have you ever been in a class where it's only just a couple people?
Yes. Actually, like recently, because a lot of the guys that I came in with, we have now graduated and are starting to do more shows on the indie scene. It's been more room for a lot of the newer guys to come in. And a lot of the newer guys, when they come in and they may come in 1 day or 2 days, but they're not coming in all 3 days throughout the week. So you can go in and you'll catch 1 day out of the week. Maybe most of the time it's probably a Wednesday. If not, it'll be a Tuesday, but it's normally the middle of the weekdays where it's light at training. But yeah, it's and it doesn't change even when it's 5 or 6 people. Once we figure out what it is that we're doing, then okay, this is what we're doing today. It's just most of the time when it's 5 or 6 people, Fox would tend to ask a newer person what they would want to learn, and that's where the figuring out part comes in. That because they have so much that they want to do. I did as well when I first started. I'm pretty sure Eddie would tell you when he first started, it was the same thing. You have so much that you want to do at one time that once you're asked what you want to learn, what do you want to do, it kind of throws you off.
What's it like in a class where there's, 5, 6 people or 30 people? Like, what's the big difference between the two, would you say?
I would say the biggest difference would probably be the one-on-one time with Fox. Like
Okay.
he, he's by far gonna give you the most information and gonna help you at improving more than anybody that walks in that building. And having that time to sit down and pick his brain is very valuable. And a lot of guys don't get the opportunity to pick his brain because when they come to training, it's always a lot of people. And once you only get to see that when you come to training and there's nobody there. So, if you always come to training and everybody's always there, then you really never get that opportunity because by the time you get that opportunity to speak with him or to pick his brain and everybody's getting ready to leave, it's close to the end of training. And everybody's kind of getting ready to go home. But that's really the biggest difference. When it's 5 or 6 people at training, you can pick his brain about a lot more than you would usually pick his brain for. I mean, pick his brain on at training.
Got you. Excuse me. Um, what's it like, growing up with, I say growing up, but like growing with your peers at the A4? Like, what's that like?
Growing with my peers at the A4 is great. Like it's a very family oriented thing. Like you wouldn't expect it to be a school like we call yes it's a training school, but once you pay for the membership and you start training, you're family immediately. Like it doesn't matter how long you've been there, it doesn't matter how quick you pick up on it, it doesn't matter even if you're not even trying to be a wrestler, you just coming in there to be a commentator or just to be a referee, your family immediately. So growing with my peers has been very fun, especially now a lot of the guys that I came in with or that were there a little bit before me. they're starting to win titles and they're starting to headline some promotions. So it's real fun to see because I know my time coming too, you know. So yeah, that's a good thing. If your peers are growing, you grow.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Something else I like to talk about on here is like creating your character. Like, what's it like building and creating your own persona within wrestling?
Well, that's one of my favorite parts of wrestling, actually. Like, I get to be whoever I want to be at this point in my career. I get to be whoever I want to be. I get all free reign to do whatever I want to do as far as my character is concerned. If I want to take him all the way left, I can take him all the way left. If I want to take it all the way right, I can take him all the way right. But yeah, that's my favorite part. So that entire process has been fun. I kind of already knew who my character was gonna be before I even signed up to train. So just me signing up to learn everything was just kind of a formality so that I can bring this character to life. But yeah, I've been kind of creating characters for years now, so it was never gonna be something that I thought was gonna be difficult.
What if you had to like give a little character analysis of yourself? Like, how would you break down your character for those who might not know you?
Okay, so for those who don't know, Don Cameron is a short-tempered businessman. I like to try to stay calm, cool, and collected, and I don't usually want to get in a lot of things that don't benefit me. However, there are trigger words that you can say, there are actions that you can do that will get me out of that mode immediately, and I'm probably one of the first wrestlers to slap you, even during the promo.
Okay. A move set is always extremely important in a wrestler's, repertoire. What's it like building that and making it match that character? What's that like?
Now, the move set has kind of been more challenging to make as far as when it comes to setting it with a character because you have to always remember, okay, well, does my character do these types of moves? What kind of character is he if he does these kind of moves? Now, I've had help with setting up my move sets because again, training at the four, you get gems that a lot of places probably wouldn't give you. And so when we were taught about move sets, we were taught how to break down our moves into certain sections. So it was never really a very hard thing to learn as far as setting the move set. The hardest thing may have been like putting together a move set for moves that I don't know how to do yet. So like if I were to try to do something and I haven't practiced it, then those kind of moves that would make the move set kind of hard. But once you like have trained enough and know, okay, I know a certain amount of moves, then your move set is actually not that hard to create. Because once you know that I can do a headlock takeover and I can do a scoop slam and I can do a power slam, then you can figure out, okay, well, my character will probably do this move at this point in the match. And then my character would probably do that scoop slam to cut the man off. And he would probably do this power slam to go into a double down or to come back from a double down or it can be a finish depending on how we do it. So yeah, that's really been the hardest part, just trying to know what it is that you have to do. But once you get down the moves that once you know, okay, I have these moves down, I know I can do these moves, then setting your move set isn't that hard.
Okay. Um, do you or not do you? Um, what's it like creating a finisher?
It's a headache, but it's a fun headache. I say
Okay.
it's a headache because we're in the age of wrestling now where so much has been done and there are so many variations of so many other moves that it's kind of hard to be original. And any pro wrestler will tell you that that's really the best thing that you can have for any move is for it to be original. But again, you go back to knowing what type of character you are and what type of moves will fit with your character. Your finishing move has to be something that is maybe like I would say the exclamation point to your character. Like you can't come out here and say you're a luchador and then you're doing an American move as a finish. You can't, you can't say you're an American wrestler and you do a super hurricane runner as your finish. Like it has to balance with your character. Now you can say you have done lucha in the past and have taken your mask off, or you are trying to learn this style now because you've learned and mastered other styles, but it still has to match up with your character. And when it comes to setting the finisher, yeah, I don't. Outside of that part, the hardest part is trying to make it original, trying to be the only person to have it. Yeah, that's nearly impossible nowadays.
I had a guy on here the other day. He was talking about finishers, and he said the biggest thing is to try to find a move that fits your character the most, and then putting your own spin on it. And like I think he brought up Dolph Ziggler as an example because everybody does a super kick, but the
Yes.
way Ziggler does a super kick makes it his finish. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's almost like you can go with that same move and go to Shawn Michaels. Like he's the only one to turn away once he kicks you. So like, yeah, that's in it. And then you got Randy who is taking the cutter and made it his move. Like that's a move that several other wrestlers have done prior to you doing it, but the way you do it has taken on a life of its own. And that's where that goes back to the originality part. Like you can do the choke slam for it because, for instance, that's one of my finishes. You can do the choke slam, but it's the way you do it that's gonna resonate with people, and that's what should resonate with your character. Like, for instance, I said I have a short temper, so once I pull out the choke slam, that means you gotten me to that point to where I'm ready to end this match. So the way that I do it is not necessarily too different, but the way I look when I slam them, it looks like I'm really slamming them through the mat. And like my first couple of times doing it, I had to learn how to actually not slam them through the mat because I hurt one of my peers the very first time I did it. So yeah, I had to get better at doing that. But now I've gotten to the point where I can do it safely, but look like I'm hurting them really bad.
Okay. So with the choke slam, obviously there's a bunch of different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just one hand up, slam them down kind of guy, or are you like I think it was Undertaker who he kind of wedgies him when he, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, so I'm I guess you could say I wedge you because it's just it's kind of hard to get guys up. Like when you have guys that are afraid, I don't want to really be picking people up by the neck. That's very
Yeah.
dangerous. But when you have people that don't want to actually take that bump, yeah, there are ways to make them jump. So yeah, I'm a wedgier. I grab the tights. You gotta go up when I'm ready. Again, that's
Hey,
my character. When it's time for that choke slam, I don't care how big you are. I don't care how small you are. I don't care how afraid you are of this jump and this bump. You're about to take it. But yeah, and I've done variations with it. I've sat down with it before and I've done it to my knees before. It's just I find it more comfortable standing up all the way to the top and standing up and bringing them all the way down. It gives a different feeling when I stay standing tall doing it.
okay. You mentioned working, with big people, small people. Do you prefer which one do you prefer? Working with a smaller opponent or a larger opponent?
Well, I can work with anybody, but if I had to choose, I would say the bigger guys. The smaller guys, I like working with smaller guys because it's a chance for me to showcase a little bit of my athleticism, and I get to also show that I can keep up with them. But the bigger guys is just something about wrestling another guy my size or bigger, and we just duking it out, tossing each other around, slamming each other all night. It's normally a slugfest. I never really come out of a heavyweight fight like feeling the same. I like that's what I like the most about it. I like going into it and coming out feeling like I've been in a fight, and most of the time I get that wrestling the bigger guys. Not saying that I've never had that wrestling some smaller guys, because there have been a couple of smaller guys that are giving me a really good run for my money in the ring. It's just the bigger guys. We go in and we go at it like I get stiffer shot. I get stronger slams. I get to be the small guy sometimes. Yeah, so I would say I prefer the work with the bigger guys.
Okay. Um, Something else I like to ask you guys from the A4 is it wasn't a, it's about going on a little over a year ago. Darby and Sting made an appearance at the A4. Was you there for that?
Yeah, I was there. I
What
was
was
there.
that like?
It was it was a big surprise first, because when it happened, none of us outside of Fox knew what was going on. We were just told to stay from the back, don't go in the locker room. We had to leave it alone. If we had to change for the show, it had to be in Gorilla, or you had to change early before the fans got there. And so we were cutting a promo and had no clue that this was about to happen. We were all still in the dark. And then next thing you know, Darby walks in one way, and that's what really threw everybody off, because where I was standing, I could have saw Steen come straight out of the entrance, but I was too busy looking at Darby like the rest of us, because he came out through the back door, and just it's just one of those things that make you proud to be a student of that school, because without Fox and the connections he's made and the moves he's made in the wrestling world, we wouldn't have had that. Like if it wasn't for him training Darby and working with him and knowing him and going and working with Sting and building these connections, they wouldn't have even thought to come to our school. And we've actually had a couple of more people come since then. But yeah, that was a crazy night. That was a crazy night.
Okay.
That was a crazy night.
Did you get to have any interactions with either Darby or Sting?
Yeah, we were able to talk to Darby a little bit, but nah, Sting, he was real kayfabe with it, very professional. We couldn't see him before the show. After they did that, he was gone 5 minutes after that. Like yeah, there was no communicating with Sting that night.
What's Darby like?
Oh, he's cool. Darby's very laid back, very down to earth. Like it's almost like a lot of the people that train at the A4 and come out of the A4, they all kind of take on Fox's personality. So a lot of the people that I've met from before that trained before me, they're all cool, laid back people. They're very welcoming, and we all are very supportive of that school. It's like once they find out you're from the A4, it almost lights up. A light goes off in their head. Like, okay, you've been trained well. You've been working with the right people. So yeah, but he was pretty cool. I mean, he was just there to do that segment that night and then get ready for AEW. So he didn't really stay long either. But yeah, we at least got to chop it up with him, take some pictures and stuff.
Okay. Was Dar Do you know if Darby was trained at the A4?
Yeah, I believe I'm not sure like how much he
Okay.
trained there, but he has mentioned that he trained at the A4.
Because like I know there's guys like Austin Theory were also there. So like I was gonna ask, what's it like? There's a legacy of great athletes and competitors that's come from there. What's that mean to also be amongst those individuals?
Yeah, that's the thing that makes you show up all the time. Like,
Okay.
there's gonna be days, especially I tell a lot of the younger guys that are training now, it's gonna be days where you're not gonna want to do this. It's gonna be days where you're gonna be like, nah, I don't think I need to get up and go up here. And some of those days you may not, but a lot of days you do. You have to go up to that school, because those same people that you look up to, this is what they had to do. They had to sacrifice, and they had to go through those same problems and trials and tribulations to get to where they are. And they wouldn't be where they are if they didn't sacrifice something and work hard. So it's the thing that makes me keep coming back. Is that those are one of the main reasons that I decided to stay once I first signed up and I went through my first couple of weeks of training. I decided to keep going because I saw so many other people that I watched wrestling right before I decided to do this, and they've trained there before. And for some reason, I'm not saying this is as a knock to any other schools, but we put out pretty good talent from the A4. So it's not a bad thing to be like, yeah, I go to that school and he went there and she went there and he went there and he went there. It's kind of a bragging right when you think about it, but I mean, why else? What else can it be?
Exactly. Um, you mentioned also earlier that, some guys who got to spread their wings. I saw that you got to spread your wings a little bit and get out in the indie scene. What's that like, trying to get out there, get your name out there, work with other promotions?
Well, getting on the indie scene is kind of challenging, but it's only because there's a lot of wrestlers out here trying to there's a lot of wrestlers out here trying to make get work, just like us. They're trying to get booked. But it's still been a fun experience. Like we were prepared at the A4 for a lot of the things that we were going to experience because guys come in from the indie scene, they have trained there and they give us tips and they tell us what's going on, and you get a little bit of a little bit of who going on in there. So if there are some promotions that are holding shows or they are looking for talent and they just so happen to have some A4 guys on the roster, that tends to usually lead to a lot of guys getting more opportunities. Like right now, a lot of us are starting to get opportunities on Action Wrestling due to a former graduate being there and really putting in a lot of work by the name of Bobby Flacco. So he's been there for a while, and Bobby has been getting guys to come in for Action next up, and that has led to a lot of guys now getting onto Action's roster. So as far as the indie scene goes, I haven't had too many situations where like you run into the bad promoters. I haven't had any of those yet. I've had a couple of promoters that have booked me and then canceled, but you go through that. That's what we're dealing with right now on this road scene.
Um, as far as your future, do you have any goals that you're looking to achieve, like in the next few
Yes,
years or so?
yes, I do. I'm actually one of my main goals is I got to get one of these titles at the A4. We have three. We have a world championship, an internet championship, and the tag team championships. I have to get one of those around my waist within this next year. I've been there long enough. I've seen enough of my peers go on and win these belts. It's my turn. And I also want to make a couple of lists next year. I've seen a couple of guys make some lists this year also that I feel like I can be on that list with them, right along with them. Actually, I don't have to be better than them or ranked higher than them, but I definitely think that I can be ranked along with them. And to get a contract in a few years. I'm not trying to be on the indie scene forever. I can work it, but we're all trying to get to something bigger and better. We're all trying to get something stable, and that's what I'm looking for in the next few years. I definitely want to try to work into a contract if I can.
Okay. Um, something I was doing research. I saw that you are a co-creator of Urban Legends.
Yes, yes,
You want to
sir.
talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so the Urban Legends is a faction that I created with my tag team partner Supreme. It was originally six of us, and we've kind of gone through a lot of changes through guys leaving the school, guys leaving the faction, and guys unfortunately leaving this world. So it's kind of on hiatus right now. But yeah, it was a faction, and we were going to be the biggest faction in the A4, soon to be the biggest faction in the state of Georgia. But we just got derailed for a little while, and it's a collective. Like it's like a brotherhood. We tried not to have any leaders, even though the fans made me the de facto leader once they found out I was part of the co-creators. But we tried not to have any leaders, and we tried to have everybody be on their own and have everybody to be their own person. And basically, egos got in the way. You know, everybody has their own character, and we're all trying to build something here for our careers. And everybody decided to eventually start to go their own ways. But the legends, the urban legends, have some more members that I've been looking at recruiting. I got a couple of guys who are saying that they want to see what the legend way is about. So we'll see if they up to the task. But it take
Okay.
a lot to be an urban legend. But once you become one, you won for life. You can ask our world champion about that. Even though we've had our problems, he started off as an urban legend as well. So yeah, once you join, you in. But it just take a lot to get in.
Got you. Got you. Um, I got a couple more questions. A fun one I like to ask. There's a common debate about who Mount Rushmore in pro wrestling is. Do you have an
Okay.
opinion on the top four?
Yeah, I absolutely have an opinion. Okay, so my top four would be, I guess I can go in order. So yeah, my top four would be Stone Cold, Undertaker, The Rock. My son has come out here, so he's looking at me do my top four, and Randy Orton.
Okay.
Get that Stone Cold out of here.
Oh my God, yes, and he's a big wrestling fan as well.
Get that Stone Cold out of
Well, hey
here.
man, that
So we're
was
gonna
my
have to
boy.
edit that out, man. I'm just kidding.
That's my
Uh,
list.
gonna say, got a little bit of explanation. I like it. It's a good top four, but just for fun, you know.
Oh yeah. Okay, so again, with me getting older and understanding, like once I got to high school and I was broke into because yeah, I was one of those kids that up until ninth grade you couldn't tell me wrestling was fake. So once I finally realized that it was, and that kind of took me out of it for about a year. I came back into it, and I started to learn the actual business of pro wrestling and what it means to be a pro wrestler. So that's when I got the breakdown about the faces and the heels, because before then I was just calling them good guys and bad guys. And once I broke myself into that and having that knowledge and information, that kind of changed my Mount Rushmore a bit, because these four guys are guys that I understand as far as in-ring talent, character work, and longevity. I'm a big fan of longevity. Guys that I'm able to sit here and still talk to my 7-year-old son about that were wrestling when I was 7 years old. Like that's also one of the other reasons that I got into wrestling, because it's a longevity sport. Like most of the guys are able to be, and women, most of them are able to be in this business for years. So yeah, but with Stone Cold, I mean, without Stone Cold, the attitude era would have never been the same. Like yeah, we had a lot of talent, we had The Rock, and we had a lot going on at that time, but everything fell behind to the rattlesnake. Once that glass broke, it didn't matter what was going on Raw or SmackDown. When you heard that glass break, you were immediately invested on who was finna catch that stunner. For the Undertaker, I like to call him the unsung GOAT. We call John Cena the GOAT, but Undertaker was there. I believe Undertaker was there definitely longer than him, and he did a lot more. He didn't win as many championships. Yes, that he did not. But you could not tell me that as far as who was trusted, you couldn't tell me Undertaker wasn't trusted as much as John Cena, if not more than John Cena in certain situations, and especially at WrestleMania. The man was able to go on and have a 21 match winning record, 21 in a row. at WrestleMania. Like that speaks to the levels of commitment, dedication, and hard work that he was putting into being a wrestler as far as his in-ring skill, his psychology in the ring, and his character work. Like Undertaker would do very little things, and he's been speaking about these things now in like interviews and podcasts since he's been retired. So we are now able to see and hear all of the little intricacies that made him who he was, and that's actually put him up on my list, and that's what solidified it for him because now I can see, okay, you really were working really hard at a lot of things. Like for you to know, okay, I do the old school, but now that I done got old school over the well, enough people have seen me do it. Now every time I do it, it's not gonna be I'm gonna get taken out or I'm gonna get cut off from it. Like to have that kind of wherewithal and that kind of knowledge and his character work again. The man switched his character like 4 or 5 different times, but they were all still some form of the same character. That's hard to do. Like it's hard to switch a character and keep it like it to have some of the same ethics, morals, and values of that character for it to never change. For you to be able to change that character that many times and to still be the same person, yeah, that's hard to do. And like I said, I forgot my third person. I know I said Randy, Undertaker, Stone Cold. Who was my third person?
Hold on.
I had a blank too.
You said Stone Cold. The Rock.
The Rock.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, if it wasn't for The Rock, now I said the attitude there wouldn't be the same without Stone Cold, but just as much as we needed Stone Cold for that era, Stone Cold needed The Rock for that era. Like their rivalry goes back just as like it's one of the greatest of all time for that very reason. Like without The Rock coming along at the time that he came along and being somebody that was just as good in the ring, on the mic, and with their character as Stone Cold, Stone Cold would have eventually been Hulk Hogan. Because who would have been able to match him character wise like that much? Like you literally had your equal there with you. It's like what we had with John Cena and maybe Edge or John Cena and Randy for a time. Like you had your equal there, somebody that can match you in speaking on the microphone, in star power, and in character work, and in ring ability. So like yeah, without The Rock, Stone Cold would have eventually just started running through everybody, or he would have just done what he was already doing and just started stunning people for no reason every week. But without a compelling rival, without a compelling person to have right there, we don't get the Stone Cold heel turn. You never have the need to turn heel and join up with Vince if The Rock is not there to take that title from you.
Mm-hmm.
And with Randy has just become one of my favorites because he's just so good at his character work. He knows who he is. He's been knowing who he was ever since he came up with the Legend Killer. That's just even when they started calling him the Viper, this is still the same Legend Killer that was back all those years, punting people in the heads and hitting legends with RKOs. This is the same person. He's just so in tune with his. You literally get cheered for doing some of the same stuff you used to get booed for. That's like I can't do nothing but respect that. Like as a guy who is currently a heel, that's just something that you look up to because the character work is the character work is just very good with Randy. But that's how it is with him. You get on.
And then back then, everybody
in the interview now.
Now everybody loved Roman Reigns after he came back.
Yeah.
Because they know that he's still our tribal chief. Acknowledge him.
Okay, we're gonna acknowledge the tribal chief.
We can do that.
The OTC.
For original, it's the 2 word. Original tribal chief and only tribal chief.
You're right, son.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, he though I said he's a big fan too. I'm pretty sure he already got a Mount Rushmore of his own. But yeah, that's those are my four. Like those four guys, like I said, character work, in ring ability, charisma, like those things I really look at as far as being a successful wrestler. Those are my top qualities. Like how good was he on the mic? I know a lot of guys that are really good but can't really talk on the mic, and I know a lot of guys that are great on the mic but aren't as great in the ring. And these guys, you are either so good at one thing that it made up for you not being so good at another, or you were just good at all of it. Like Undertaker and Randy, y'all were good at everything. Stone Cold, you don't have to have a crazy looking moveset when you can come out and talk the way you talk, and you got one of the hottest finishers in the game. The Rock, you can do everything. It's like, yeah, as a pro wrestler, that's what you want to be able. That's what you want somebody to say about you. You want somebody to be able to say, "Oh, he can do it all. He can talk on the mic. He's really good in the ring. He's really in tune with his character. He knows what his character is. Like those are the things. Those are the things that I try to emulate when I'm wrestling. Those are the things that I want people to see through my work. Like, okay, he's improving in the ring. He's getting really good in the ring. He can talk on the microphone. He's really in tune with his character.
I really thought I would say.
My next question, you don't have to answer it, but I'm going to ask. With Randy, one of his biggest achievements ever was winning the world title,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it doesn't get talked about because the opponent he won it from. Like as a fan, what does it mean? Like, do you think like it hinders Orton's legacy by beating Benoit for his first world title?
I don't think it hurts his legacy. I think if anything, he just doesn't get to celebrate it as much. And that has nothing to do with him, which is sad. But yeah, I believe a win is a win. Your name is still in the record books as the champion. They've let you cut a promo, and they've mentioned the championship win. They just won't mention who you beat. So to me, it still counts. So yeah, I don't think his legacy hurts as much, but I do think he just doesn't get to celebrate his win, which it in a way could probably hurt his legacy. But I don't know. If I was him, does that hurt you as much as not being able to celebrate? I think being able to celebrate it would be more, but yeah, and that's probably why that's my opinion. Yeah, because
Okay.
if I was in his shoes, I would care more that the win still counts. Because like I would rather that than we talk about it like him compared to Dusty. That's I would go that route. Would you rather be Randy and take the win and not be able to talk about it, or be Dusty and everybody talk about it and you not have it officially be yours?
Exactly. Okay. Um, right before we wrap up, knowing that you are a dad in professional wrestling, there's got to be challenges with that. What's it like, being a father and also working this crazy sport?
Well, I would say the hardest thing is really just being scheduling, trying to book shows around him going to school and having to make sure that if I have to go somewhere that he can't go, that he has proper care at home. But outside of that, I mean, I really would I would honestly encourage more dads to do it. If not doing pro wrestling, maybe martial arts, or maybe take up intramural sports, but something to do with them just to stay active. Because I also never would have imagined me doing pro wrestling would lead to him wanting to do it as well. Because he's gotten in the ring with me and we've done some drills together and all of that. And I never would have thought that was possible once I first signed up. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I was too busy worrying about doing this to try to provide for him. And here it is he's right along in the ring with me, training and learning this stuff himself. So yeah, I honestly would say if you can find some time to do this, because it's always time. That's another thing that I had to tell myself: it's always time to do it. If you can't, if you believe that it's no time, you won't have any time. If you believe that you have time, you'll have time. So I haven't had any real bad experiences or any real struggles really with being a father in pro wrestling outside of that. Like I may have to book a show and he can't come, or I may have to let him not, he might have to not be able to go to school because I have to go somewhere and be gone early and I may not be able to pick him up. So those type of things. But it's not major, because I'm still currently working on the weekends when it comes to shows. So I get that free time with him. And when I go to shows, a lot of the times you wouldn't expect it, but a lot of the times locker rooms have been very receptive to that, and they let him come in. He can go and find his seat in the crowd, and they let him sit and chill. And as long as he's not really bothering anybody, which he doesn't, then he's good. He's been to a few shows with me, and I've lost him because he's just been sitting there. Like he's been quiet. I ain't heard from him. I ain't seen him. But he's good. He's all right. Some other wrestler may have walked up on, and that's another thing too. A lot of these shows, a lot of us are parents, and not all of us have the opportunity to bring our children with us. So once I bring Lil Don with me, a lot of the times it's refreshing to other wrestlers just to see that. And even if I'm not always there in that moment to check on him or to watch out for him, other wrestlers have done that for me. And then, of course, any show we're at with the A4, he's probably more like that the A4 than I am. So he's always good at an A4 show.
Got you. Well, I always like to end it off with a word of advice. Is there any advice you got for, people trying to be where you're at, whether it's professionally or personally?
Yes, do it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't overthink about it. Because if you think about it too long, you won't do it. The minute you get to thinking about, oh, those bumps are gonna hurt. Oh, then those ropes are really hard. They're not plastic. And then you got one. As soon as you get to thinking about one negative thing, then all the negatives pop up. If you want to do this, whether you want to do it just to get yourself in shape, if you want to do it to try and pursue a career out of this, like we are, or if you just want to be a hobbyist and do it on the weekends, just do it. Sign up for it. Put the fear away, because that your fear will stop you from doing a lot in this business, especially with pro wrestling. Like your fear stop you from your first day of training. So get the fear out of there. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna get hurt. That's that's the best advice I can give you. Just do it. Just push through, because once you come through the other end, you're gonna be glad that you did. There was some days when I was training that I swear I was like, yeah, I don't know, y'all. I might have to go back to doing music. But now that I'm in the position that I'm in, I'm seeing the benefits of sticking it out and trying to continue to build this legacy and build out this career.
Okay. Man, I just want to say thank you once again. This was a fun experience. Hopefully we can do a part two a little bit further down the line, maybe after you hit that contract.
Oh yeah, or after I get the belt, after I take one of them A4 titles or something, we got to do an update. We have to do an update
Gotcha.
pod.
Exactly. But thank you once again. I want to say thank you to you guys at the A4. Like I said, off camera, you've all been very receptive and very open to the opportunity to get on the podcast, and I just greatly appreciate it.
Oh yeah, like I said, once again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'll definitely be telling some guys, like I'm sure Eddie has told some people. I'll tell them whoever he told, I'll be reminding them, and whoever he didn't tell, I'll tell them. But we're us at the A4, we're a family, so you're probably gonna hear this from somebody else, but you'll be a part of the family soon too. Keep doing these podcasts and these interviews. Yeah, this would be like a, oh yeah, well, you graduated, you doing the show on Thursdays now. You should go and do we got a podcast for you too. Like it's really it's really that type of environment at the A4.
I'm looking forward to it, man. And as you guys grow, hopefully I can grow with y'all.
Yes, sir. That's the goal.
All right. I will I'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Thank you.